My name's Sue Weaver, and I have a crystal school called the Cornwall School of Crystal Healing that's been going since 1996, and I teach people about working with crystals for themselves and to help friends and family. And I also do a professional training to become a crystal healer. And that's really what we're focusing on while we're here. But there's also another part of the work which is Heaven and Earth, which is the bigger picture of everything that we do, working with not just crystals but with astrology and shamanism and earth healing. This is one part of it. So when we come to events like this, we bring the crystals, and people can have an opportunity not just to buy them, but to also ask about how to use them, what their properties are, how they can use them for their own healing, for meditation, all different ways that they can work with them in their homes and in their lives. And it's our business and it's how we make a living, but it's not just somewhere where people can come and buy things. They can actually get the good quality information on how to work with them. I'd always worked with people. I'd always wanted to understand about people and human behaviour and so on, and I did a psychology degree at university, and then I worked as a social worker and a community worker, and lots of different ways, and gradually I found out more about energy and humans as part of the planet, really, and I literally discovered crystal healing quite by accident one day when I was at Glastonbury Festival, and I saw a sign that said crystal healing, and I had no idea what it meant, what it was about, or anything at all, and I went along, and it was one of those life-changing moments. I think my children call it an epiphany these days, and so I had one of those, and it was everything in my life changed after that, and I wanted to learn. I knew that I had to learn about crystals, and I knew that was what I needed to do with my life. This is in the 80s, and at that time, although there were books that had been written in America, people had got interested in working with crystals more in America. In this country, there were very few people that were working with crystals and were actually teaching about it. So I could only find one person to learn from at that time, and I followed her around the country wherever I could, which was no mean feat because I had 3 small children at the time. And then, having learned something enough from her to really begin to connect with the crystals then became my teachers for years. And I found other human teachers along the way, and it just grew with me, really. Well, the first thing was that more people became interested, and some people then who had been working with crystals began to teach others. I mean, in my case, it was literally that people were coming to me saying, will you teach us what you know? So it was very much led by the people who were wanting the teaching. And I was willing to share the little bit that I knew, and then I learned a bit more and shared a bit more, and so on. There are lots of people teaching crystal healing now, and as with anything, the quality varies enormously. There are also lots and lots of books available on the subject now, and again, the quality varies enormously, from some excellent ones to some truly terrible ones. Apart from a couple that have come out in recent years, my favourites are still the really old books, which were written at a time when people were really writing about their experience of beginning to understand the crystal spirits, really. And so anybody who is looking to find out about crystals, I would really recommend going back to some of the older works. A lot of the books that have been written recently, not all, but a lot of them have actually been copies of earlier books which have copied earlier books which have copied earlier books, and the quality's dropped off massively. But you can still find some good ones if you're careful. It works with everything, really. It can help with physical conditions, it can help with emotional conditions, it can help with rigid mental patterns. I find now that an awful lot of people, the problems that many people have are fairly non-specific. There are things wrong, but they don't really know what it is. They get lots of illnesses, but they're not really serious, but there's a general feeling of not wellness. And I think that's the most prevalent thing at this time. And I think a lot of what people are really looking for is to understand their place in the world, to understand that they're part of the planet and that they are inseparable from everything else. So crystals are one way to help people back to balance. But they can help with a bad back, they can help with feeling exhausted if you're really stressed, they can help with pain in your elbow, they can help with very simple things as well. But as I say, very often I find, maybe it's just the people that come to me, very often the presenting physical condition is only one part of a bigger picture. One of the things that I decided to do very early on was to do the introductory level work through adult education centres, because I wanted it to be accessible and available to everyone. So for the past 20 years I've been teaching single days through adult education at various centres all over, and they literally are one Saturday where people who know absolutely nothing can come along and start from scratch. And mostly people seem to feel that at the end of the day they've got something useful, they really don't have to have any understanding of crystals or of healing to come. And I often say that I always ask people why they've come and what they want by the end of the day, and my most humorous reason has always been Chinese cooking was cancelled. So I've always liked that one, but that can be an introduction, and because it's through adult education, it's quite cheap. It doesn't cost people a lot of money. They don't have to invest a lot to find out that little bit, and then if they're interested, then they can learn more. There's absolutely no substitute for hands-on experience with an experienced teacher. Yes. I think the thing that's most important is that to understand that the crystals are alive. They are living beings, as are we, and they have spirit, and they can help you in lots and lots of different ways. What I teach people is to find ways of tuning into the crystals so that they can allow the crystals to teach them directly and to learn from them. It's good to seek assistance from people who have more experience to help and guide you. I would say that anyone who tells you that you have to do this with crystals, or you must do this with crystals, or there's only one way, I would say don't listen and go to the crystal and ask the crystal.